Every job that you have ever had, every job that you ever will have has an expiration date. It's a fact of life. I'm MB. It's nice to see you. I have had a 35-year career so far and 10 amazing different companies that I've worked for. And I can tell you from being a sales director to a president to CEO to COO, and most recently, as of a month ago, president and global sales officer, they all have one thing in common, 100% one thing in common, a shelf life with an expiration date. And so I've learned a lot about pivoting, about changing direction, about how to learn how to navigate the in between. And so I've developed a proven framework. And every week, starting right now with the recording of this kickoff, I'm going to be tracking how I'm applying that framework to my life in real time. And I'm hoping that you will join me. I'm hoping that you will subscribe and walk with me because I've never done anything like this before. And I come from a corporate environment where I'm used to being around a lot of people where feedback is the breakfast of champions. So I would love to share this time with you because maybe you're staring in the face a change of your own. And maybe it's job related, work related, maybe it's personal, but you're needing to make an intentional pivot and change direction in your life. And I would love nothing more than to have you share that with me because adding value is one of my core values and it means so, so much. I would be so honored to have you subscribe so we can walk together for a bit. My good friend, John Fleming, he is the author of The Ultimate Gig. It talks about the gig economy and the reality of it in our lives and in our world today. But one of the things that he said to me once, I was at a conference and he came up and he said, you know, Meredith, I had just taken a new position. He said, you always seem to land really, really well. And he's right. I've been extremely blessed. I have. I've had made my mistakes like everybody. I'm human. I've gotten black eyes along the way. But there is something that I do put into practice. And again, it is how to pivot with intention that I feel has been a part of my secret sauce. And sharing that with you, having the opportunity to join with you during this journey and seeing you like and share it so that I know it actually added value to you would be so greatly appreciated. And I'm not perfect. This is my first time doing anything like this. So I would ask your forgiveness, please, if I'm clumsy at times, and I'm confident I will be. But I have held 10 to 12 jobs in my lifetime. And you will as well, because that is the average in the United States. And if you're a millennial watching this, Gen Z, like my kids, they're flipping jobs between 2.5 to 3 years on average. A lot of it due to really looking for that elusive, work-life balance. But I would be so thrilled if you'd comment down below and tell me what you're doing right now, what you're facing, so that I can kind of weave that into the weeks to come as we walk together. It would be awesome. And so again, that breakfast of champions, your feedback always appreciated. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be writing this new unsubscribed, unscripted chapter of life right now, today, starting with the recording of this vlog. But I did step away for the last month after I resigned. I stepped away and I did a couple of DIY projects. And I know some people really like to take their first stage of the in-between time to just kind of sit back, relax, maybe take a vacation. That doesn't appeal to me. I'm afraid I am a bit of a workaholic, and I'm not really boasting about that, but it is who I am. So it sounds actually kind of sitting around sounds a little horrifying. So what I did was we put in a new fence and painted the house, and I'm just wrapping up staining the deck, and I planted a lot of native plants and released ladybugs, hundreds of them, which, by the way, friends, if you have never done that before, I highly suggest it. It is phenomenal. And watching them devour every aphid in your yard, it's pretty darn gratifying and a little creepy, but kind of fun as well. So anyway, and then of course, finally, I just wrapped up setting up the home office here, getting ready for the what's next as I go through this exploratory time and during the intentional pivot. So again, thank you for being here because it really does start with mindset. And that's really my first step for today. Like I say, I'm going to be walking through all of the strategies in the upcoming weeks. But for today, the framework for this conversation conversation is mindset. It always starts with mindset. And you've probably read a lot about it. You've heard a lot about it. But we have to embrace the in between as a gift. And that really is fundamentally the most important thing. The in between is a gift. And if we don't embrace that, if we don't move forward with that mindset, it's going to be really, really challenging for us because you can get so caught up in this struggling of the emotions, depending on how you left your last situation. There's going to be a range of them, and maybe you're going to be going through a grief process, or maybe you're just plain fired up and excited. But regardless, not seeing this in between as scary as a dark void, but embracing it and making it your own and owning it. This is the most important thing because really, whether you left them, they left you, you left each other, whatever it might be with that job, with that relationship, with that life circumstance, it really doesn't matter because the in between is something that we will all face many, many, many times throughout our lives. And the skill building that I want to teach you as I, again, apply it personally up front and real time, that central truth is starting on that foundation of that precious gift as we get ready to intentionally pivot. And that again, it's a gift, it's in your hands, and that's our starting point. And so as we look at that, think about basketball. And I'm no athlete. As a matter of fact, it's quite embarrassing. It's terrible. But I like basketball and I watch basketball. And I did play my freshman year before they asked me to not be on the team anymore, which stood to reason. But in any case, different story, different day. But when you do get the ball and you're running down the court and you get to a place where the lane is blocked and there's somebody in front of you and you can't make it past, you stop, right? And at that moment in time, your foot becomes your pivot foot, whichever one it is, right or left. But you have to plant it. It can't move because if it does, you will lose possession. You have to plant it. And so for this piece of the conversation, thinking about intentional pivots in business and in life, that pivot foot is foundationally your core values. It is who you are as a person, what makes up your personal brand, who you are, and what you won't compromise. Because, your free foot, it can move around all day long. But if you start your intentional pivot with the right mindset that you have this gift and that you have to evaluate and make a list this week of what are the absolute immobile, the objects that you cannot move, that you are not going to compromise at any time. What are they? Because you're going to be building on that integrity. You're going to be building on that core value as we start our work together. They are absolutely non-negotiable. Now, sometimes I know that we do, I think of my own, situation that I just went through. It was so amazing. The title of the job that I just had, President Global Chief Sales Officer, great people, epic wins. I wouldn't trade those years there for anything. But foundationally, I did compromise one of my very, very firm foundational core values of family first. It was compromised. It was self-imposed. It was my choice, but putting in 12 to 14-hour days, 6 days a week, getting an apartment out of state next to the office, living there with rented furniture, away from my friends, away from my family. Yes, it was a great, like I say, it was a very, very productive few years, and I loved my time there. But, had my kids not been grown, had my husband not been an absolute saint, it would have been a problem. And over time, it really did cause me, some challenges in looking at my life. And so the opportunity really should not be to give up what foundationally belongs to you and makes you you, but more in your free foot and what you move around during your pivot that we're going to learn how to do with finesse and hopefully great success. Because again, just because you stop for a moment does not mean that you need to lose your momentum. So that is what we're going to be focusing on over these next few weeks. You're going to see the precise steps that I take in real time. You're going to be looking at the execution, and we're going to be starting with mindset. We're going to be moving into your vision, your priorities. We're going to be looking at your tools that you have at your disposal, your family, your friends, your power sources from which you draw spiritually. And then, of course, the ultimate goal at the close of our time together on this first run is that, you're going to have a future that is incredibly more inspiring than the one that you are building on right now. So just remember, final thought, that true pivots are never passive. You can't just stand there and let the world take the ball out of your hands. As your environment shifts, you have to own your what's next. And so I will be deeply honored if you will join me, deeply, deeply honored if this message resonates with you at all. Please click the like button below. Please subscribe. And I hope to see you for next week's Intentional Pivot